Last question. I'm so glad you talked about rights and freedoms, Senator Hart. Our founding fathers looked ahead and saw the need for separation of church and state. Is it time for our government to look into a separation of corporation and state?
Well, in theory and in law, we do have a separation. Obviously, I think I know what your question entails, but you're going to have to spell it out a little more. Look, it gets down to money. It gets down to money. Money comes from special interests. We are all members of special interests. AARP, the American Automobile Association, the teachers, national teachers organizations, nurses, farmers, everybody. We're all members of special interests. Look in your purses, look in your wallets. You've got a card in there that makes you a member of a special interest. And you pay dues, and those dues go to Washington, and those people in Washington hire lobbyists to promote those interests. So anybody in office has a queue outside their office, very long, of representatives of those special interests. What I tried to do in several ways was to avoid that, not totally successfully. And by the way, the circle is closed when you're running for office because you need money. And guess where the money comes from? Same place. What are they buying? Not necessarily corruption, although in the case of the increasing number of Republicans, that's what was going on. Mr. Abramoff. What they're buying is access. Every elected official, as anybody here can tell you, has a limited number of hours in the day. You have more people who want to see you than there are hours in the day. Let's say you have to choose between somebody who raised $5,000 for your campaign versus ordinary citizen off the street. You're going to be mightily tempted to see the person who raised the money for your campaign. It's a vicious circle. It's going to have to be broken. I was the first presidential candidate to not take political action committee money. When the campaign was over, after the convention, I owed millions of dollars because of that. It's not fun. But that vicious circle has to end someplace. There is corruption in Washington, but with a capital C, the Abramoff guy. There is even more corruption in the small c sense, because I talked about the nature of the republic. It's not just about civic duty and citizen duty. It is also about resistance to corruption. And for the ancient Greeks and Romans, and for our founders, corruption meant placing your own personal interest or special interest ahead of the common good. They believed very strongly in what they called the Commonwealth. Some of our early states are called commonwealths. People don't think about what that means, but think about the word commonwealth, what we hold in common. And they believed you had to put that first ahead of any special interest. By their definition, we are a massively corrupt republic because it's all about special interests. And I'm afraid the same is true, probably to a lesser degree at the state level and the local level. And Arthur Schlesinger, the late Arthur Schlesinger said, America goes through cycles of reform and then consolidation. He called it consolidation. But eventually, the reforms are over. You try to incorporate those reforms, political reforms and so on. And then gradually the society, when people are not aroused anymore and don't care anymore, the corruption seeps back in. And that's why this pendulum goes back and forth from scandal to reform, from scandal to reform. We're going to have to grow up and get a campaign finance system that it's not going to be perfect, but it's got to break the cycle that I think your question entails. Corporations don't own our government. They have enormous power in our government, particularly when the Republicans are in office. There's no question about it. But if you say that to them, they'll say, yeah, and so do the, and when you're in office, it's the labor unions and the teachers and your own special interests that you care about. Thank you all very much, and I wish you good luck.